I would love for you to share more about your experience as well inside Magic Mind, stepping into more of this authentic sense of being, especially through, sovereign sales, right? Showing up unapologetically as you. What are some things that you feel like served you the most throughout this container together?
Ooh, Tiff, I don't know. There's so many. I was like, should I just make a bullet point and come to this podcast? But I was like, I'm just gonna trust what comes through. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I think it's just the little things that keep adding up. Like for example, and also just being in the environment of Magic Mind, like-minded woman who's been there, done that in a lot of the cases, who already um have the business that are heart centered and spirit led, and being surrounded by these women and seeing them as examples, including yourself, Tiff, and then just seeing what's possible, that itself, the environment itself made a
Yes.
impact for me. But yeah, like I said, it's the little things, for example, of like instead of doing discovery calls or sales calls on Zoom, I got to actually meet someone, one of my very first clients, virtual clients, in person, because she moved to LA, and then meeting in person. And like I don't know, like I have this like idea around it has to be a certain way before joining Magic Mind. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Like, I could just meet this person in person. Like, why is
Yeah.
it such a difficult thing for me to like just be human? And I think that's what I was missing before joining this. Not to say like I was always a robot, but just being able to be human and connect to one another on a soul level, and like just doing little things differently, like even offering like free one-off sessions, right? Just to see like where I could improve, like how I could serve my people better, like getting a sense of understanding about my people and my community better. And yeah, and what else? I mean, there's just so many. I'm pretty sure there's a lot on the list that you we just looked at on the celebration station.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the little things that keep adding up that makes me more human and more heart-centered, and it just compounded overall until where I am today.
Yeah, I love that. I think honestly, one of the most beautiful things about masterminds, because I've been a part of, many masterminds. I've repeated being in masterminds. I'm in one right now for an entire year. And I think one of the most beautiful things is just being in the energy of other people who get it.
Yeah.
Like we're all taking ourselves out of boxes. We all have stories that have gotten us to where we are now. And we have a place where we can come and like cozy up with one another and share all of that together in a way where it feels safe and you feel understood and you feel witnessed. And I think, especially for a lot of us that don't have, the people in our lives that we can go to, or we don't have that community where everyone else is also just as ambitious. It can feel like, "Oh, where do I go to share these wins and also these challenges, and being a part of a sisterhood like Magic Mind is such a beautiful way to also like plug in and go and do the things that you need to go do in your life and in your business, because you know that you're held. If like if anything hits the fan, you get to come back in and be like, I just need to be held right now, this is what I'm experiencing, right? And yeah, I'd love to hear that experience for you as you moved through leaving your part-time job and making that big, like that's a big decision, right? And that's such a big energetic shift as well. And I remember in one of the threads on Slack, I was like, wait, this is the energy of you like leaving your job. And immediately, like everything is like shifting into your highest timeline, right? You're like celebrating a win that happened right afterwards. I think a client had reached out or had paid or something. And yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, this is the energy of showing the universe what you are calling in through your decisions, because our decisions are so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like you said, I left my part-time job. And I mean, it was only like a few weeks ago from this recording date, but I left, I want to say like February, like 20, if around that time. And one, like exactly 1 week after, I got a paid client. And I was just like, oh, okay, like this is what it means to like go all in. And I think you've been
Yes.
coaching me on this inside Magic Mind for months, but there's just part of me that was afraid to like fully commit 100% in my business. And it's even like crazy to say that because like yeah, I invested in Magic Mind. I invested in like my stylist mentor, and I did all the surface level things that was supposed to be, quote unquote, right. And it was even surprising to me to just admit that I wasn't fully committed in little areas of my life. But making that decision to leave my part-time job, not because not necessarily because I had a plan, but because it just felt right, and trusting my energy and trusting what's next for me was huge for me. And that's the idea, like leaving my job, like that's been something on my mind for like the last few months, as you saw me always like going back and forth, got back and forth with my decision. But it just felt good to fully trust that, and knowing what's behind that is going to be what I've been asking for, and it is already showing up in different ways, including a paid client, but just other areas in my life as well. Like I'm in conversation with people, like I get to like create my own schedule as a CEO, and I'm still learning to manage my time and everything because it's
Yeah.
also new to me. But yeah, I looking back right now, I'm like, yeah, I did that, cool. But at the same time, 3 weeks ago, Brooke would have been like, what did you do? Like, what are you talking about? So I do
Yeah.
celebrate that for me, and all the support that I got within the group inside Magic Mind. Like people held space for me, people celebrated for me, and no one thought I was crazy. Obviously, like just like, yes, girl, you got this. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's also helpful too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I think like being a part of a community where you just know that you are safe, you're witnessed, right? You can go and do crazy things because we're all doing crazy things. I think that's a really important aspect of it. And also you coming to this place where you really trusted yourself, right? Because I never tell my students when or how to leave like day jobs. That's such a personal decision. And it really has to be in alignment with you and also your nervous system. Right, and so I never wanted to, like, I would never tell my students when, and I knew that you would make the best decision for yourself on your own timing, and I feel like the timing in which it came through, and we're, like, just entering this new year. I mean, technically, like, Chinese New Lunar New Year, like, this is the beginning of the year, and, yeah, and it's just so beautiful that it all came together in what felt like a very aligned way, and now you get to navigate, going full in, like full time, all in on your business and what that feels like and looks like for you and what's required of you energetically and mentally and spiritually as a CEO. Like I feel like that's so powerful, that up leveling.
Mhm.
Yeah. We we pulled up the celebration station on Slack, which is the channel that we use to share all of the wins and celebrations throughout the entire mastermind. And I'm just pulling up one that Brooke shared in the end of the year last year, where she's celebrating, making a sale and just celebrating that like it was so easy, it was so open, like open to invite and receive. I'm cherishing this moment and feeling, coming back to this win when I have mind drama again. But yeah, it was like, it was something that just felt so easy and so like, you're just opening yourself to receive. We talk a lot about magnetism. We talk a lot about sovereign selling, right? And even during like flirty February, we talked about like what it looks like to sell from a really detached place. How do you feel like your relationship with sales has shifted inside Magic Mind?
Ooh, a lot. So I like you said, that post, I need to come back to it. But I just feel so open and inviting with my sales now. I used to look at it more as like, I don't want to say I was ever convincing, but it was like I was looking at sales as this very hard, like awkward thing that you have to do in your business. But now it's more about like let people in, and if they want to come in, they're going to come through. And
Mm,
I kind of look at it like, I think you've used this metaphor too, you have your own shop, like a cafe shop or something, and you lift the door open and you're like hosting everyone in, coming in, and you're like, hi, like, do you want a cup of tea? Like, do you want to come into this space? And it's very consensual and it's very warm. And that's the visual I have whenever I invite people in. And that two cell that you just read off of, like, it was again so easy, so effortless. One was through like a DM, like very flowy conversation. It didn't even feel like sales. I just reached out. I was just inviting. Another one, I also just said, hi, like, I have this offer right now. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. I want to buy it for my daughter. And it just worked out. And it doesn't have to be this very strategic thing that I had in mind. It just could be a very warm environment, and it feels good on both ends, you know? And
Mm,
I think that's the biggest lesson that I got through Magic Mind in terms of just sales portion of like, be open, be human, and just be inviting, and it will happen. Like, just let it be.
yeah.
But also on that story, I want to add on this part of me having like a very scarcity mindset. And I was working on my abundance one time, and I was driving back home, and in my mind, I had like 2 hours while I was out from the house. And within those 2 hours, I told myself I want to see my angel number, which is 117. So I told that to my guys, and I'm driving, and I didn't see it until like very last minute. But before I could hit, like that 5-10 minutes before I got home, I was already in my scarcity mindset of like, oh, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna see my angel number. And I realized, I was like, wait, this is exactly what I do with sales. Like, like when you have like a launch period, let's say for 2 weeks or a week, we tend to like, if we don't see results in the first like 5 days, we're like, oh my God, it's not coming in. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I was always in that, what am I going to do? And continue that on until the very end. But as I was driving back home, which was like 5-10 minutes away from my home, I was like, I just surrendered. And I was like, you know what? It's gonna come through. It doesn't matter when or how, it's just gonna come through. And then right when I decided it's gonna come through, I saw 117 on like a flyer or something as I was driving back home. And I was like, what is happening? Okay, cool. Like, remember this feeling. And then I remember that feeling. And when I had that 2 week sell, I also didn't get a sale for like the first week, and the second week is when I got those two sales. So I was always holding on to that lesson that I had as I was driving, and looking at sales the same way too. Like, it's not about the how or when, it's just about like being able to hold on to the energy, like you said, like being able to
Yeah.
hold on to that abundant energy. That's also been very helpful too in terms of my mindset switch. And I mean, clearly it happened. So that's a reminder I need to remind myself every other day. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Because I think that that's truly what it means to do sales in a way that is led by the energetics, right?
Yeah.
The energetics lead the strategy. And so it isn't just like, well, if I send enough cold DMs, if I post enough times on my stories, someone is bound to buy, right? And it's from this energy of like, obligation. It's from this energy of even like resentment. Like, why are people not buying? Like, this is such a good offer. Like we're our energy is so it's so important. Our energy is so deeply important in the ways that we show up. And for you, even just learning that lesson of like, yeah, I just have to hold on to it, even when it feels like it's not happening. How can I hold on even deeper? How can I surrender even more?
Mhm.
How can I just allow myself to step into a reality where it's like this Delulu thinking, and that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs, right? Like, we're the ones who go first as leaders. We go first and we do the things that are out of this box where people are like, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want to live a life that makes sense. I don't want to live a life based on logic and linear thinking. I want to live a life where I create these logic defying results and people are like, how did you do that? What are the steps you took? And I'm like, no, it wasn't what I did. It was who I was being, right? And that led me to the strategies. And my strategies change all the time. What worked for me in the past, like, I might want it to look different in the future, depending on how I'm feeling inspired and what comes through for me and how I evolve as a person, right? And so Yeah, I feel like you've stepped so deeply into a way of sales that allows you to have fun with it. It gets to be flirty, it gets to be effortless. That's really what I want people to take away from this episode is like sales gets to be flirty and effortless and easy when you allow yourself to open up and receive it, right? Actually receiving it, not just like calling it in and making the post, like that's one part of it, but then we also have to open ourselves to receive the sales that are coming through. And like I always say, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So even first, maybe looking at the way that we fully receive compliments. Do we let ourselves do that? Or do we let people come in and help us? Right? Like if are we in the grocery store going aisle to aisle to aisle to aisle instead of just asking someone like, hey, where can I find this dip or whatever? Right? Like how are we blocking receiving in different areas of our lives, and how can we open ourselves to receive even more, even deeper? Because how we do one thing is how we do everything, and everything's interconnected, right? Our relationships and our wealth and our business, clients, money, like the way that we play, the way we have fun, the way we show up with our families, etc. Like all of it is connected. How can we show up and create an even deeper sense of receiving and allowing?
I love that. Oh, I feel like I just got coached, but yeah. Exactly. I mean, I was even thinking about like my client who I worked with, and we created bomb ass outfits for her, and she felt good, not just because it looked good, but also it was honoring her energetic coding with her style. And then she was like, I'm getting so much compliments, but it's not just about the compliments, but also just being able to receive that and taking it in. I think especially as women, we've been taught to not do that, right? Especially in the Asian culture as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to receive that and owning that and holding on to that energy is so powerful.
I'd love for you to share anything else that you feel like you want the listeners to know about your experience inside Magic Mind, energetic shifts that you've had, shifts in your sales, in wins, things that you've moved through in these past, nearly 6 months together. What would you share with the listeners that you feel like would be supportive?
I would say, well, this was my first ever mastermind. So just being in a container of like-minded people, like-minded women itself has just been very transforming. And I like when I say I love literally every single one of them inside this magic mind, like I love all of them so much. Like I could reach out to them anytime I know. And I am actually also the baby in the group. So I feel like I've just learned so much from every single woman, and it's just been so empowering. And I didn't feel alone in the process, obviously. Like I was held, I was moving through a lot in the last 6 months, like everyone else did as well, but they were all there supporting one another. So the environment itself is just worth being in Magic Mind, I would say. And then Tiff over here, a witch doing her magic. Like every time we get on a call, like I don't know how you channel, but you be channeling, and then you just be saying all the right things right there. Like what people needed to hear is always coming through, and I'm just like in awe of your magic, like just experiencing it. Like even the last call, I was like just feeling heavy emotionally, so I had my camera off, and then everyone else is also kind of like feeling some type of energy, I think. But like
Yeah.
felt that energy since like, like a minute in, and you're like, you know what? Let's just like breathe in our body. Let's, move our body. And I was like, oh, Tim, thank you. I needed to move my body. Like, and just the coaching that I receive, it's always in alignment, and it's a space where you probably have expectations, but it's gonna exceed your expectations for sure. So if you feel the call to it, if you're feeling aligned, talk to Tev. What you doing? Go talk to Tev because she's your girl. But I loved every single moment, and it's the last month. It's crazy, but yeah, every month I feel like I grew as a human being, as an entrepreneur. And like I shared with you last time, I don't see myself separating from my business and myself. Like
Mm.
my business is me, and I'm on. I feel like an open canvas. Like I'm an open, but like people could read me now. Like I have nothing else to hide at this point, and I love that about me. And my business, like my business is healing for me, and I love the work that I do now. And I wouldn't be saying this like even 6 months ago from the heart. So thank you
Yeah.
for the amazing experience.
Well, thank you for making it an amazing experience in this container. Like it truly is made by all of the students coming together. And I know some of you have like flown out and connected and been in person with one another and just like calling each other sisters and really creating a beautiful sisterhood, a beautiful container where all of you show up and not only, receive but pour into one another. And I've seen you do that from the very beginning for all of the women here, celebrating with them and holding them. And then it's no wonder that, of course, like they're also holding space for you and they love you. Like you've also poured so much into your experience as well. And it's been such a joy. It's been such a joy to have you. I just love you so much.
Love you too.
Oh, yay.